We back. All right, so maybe we can get this together this time. Let me bring Andre on. Okay, so I invited him. I'm gonna tell my friend Marcus that we are live. Room now, so hopefully I already have about whatever we talking about. So let the moderator get on here. What's up, man? Okay, so we back.
We are back in the house. Um, I want to apologize to those that were ready for us at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 12 o'clock Pacific. I did not charge my AirPods. So I came onto the live with 9% battery life on my AirPods. So, and being that the AirPods are easy for you all to hear me, and it kind of makes sure that the sound is isolated better. So I am back. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So welcome to the Vibe Show. That
Biblical.
is the title of the show. Um, I'm going to give myself a shout out because I am the one that came up with that title. So I'm giving myself a shout out. But Brandon agreed with that title. So I will be saying, Welcome to the Biblitical Show. Um, I'm so glad, we are glad that you are here. So, what we are going to be discussing, and like I always say, feedback is necessary. Please post in the comments what you feel. I will be moderating your comments and making sure that I respond to those and we respond to your comments. Um, and also a disclaimer, anything political that bashes the president in any way or anything that's political in nature, just know that I'm not going to read them out loud, but you're more than welcome to post whatever you feel is necessary to post for someone else to see what you're saying. I see that Rob is on.
What's up,
Hello,
Ron?
Rob. Um, so what so what we're going to be discussing is um, ways to be better at life. I came up with that topic. I'm going to be discussing um, Dr. Kevin Kelly. He's a futurist, and I'm going to be giving you all some of his work. He has a website called kk.org, so check it out. But I will be reflecting on some of the things that he spoke about on an interview that he had about a week ago. And what Brandon's going to be discussing is my brother's keeper. It's out of Matthew 28. He's going to be talking about that after me. And yeah, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'll go ahead and start off with my topic. And like I said, please ensure that you're posting comments and we will take note of it. So I'm going to talk about my topic. And like I said, Dr. Kelly talked about some things that actually made me go like, what is he talking about? But then after he explained it, it made a lot of sense. So now hear me out now, because like I said, I was like, what is he talking about? But I want you to really think about what I'm going to talk about. So he mentioned a statement saying that he feels that enthusiasm beats intelligence. Now, when you hear that, you're like, what? So how can someone be enthusiastic, but it supersedes intelligence? I'm going to explain what that means based off of what Dr. Kelly said. So an enthusiast, as you all may know, is a person that shows a deep interest in more new things. So anything new, anything innovative, an enthusiast has a deep interest in new things. They're considered a fan, a fanatic, a devotee. So someone that's really devoted in learning new things. That is what an enthusiast is. And one of the things he said is when we're all having a conversation with somebody and we say that adds to the conversation. So it enhances what that other person is talking about. And a thing that I feel that a lot of us have to be careful of is to not say no. So when someone brings a point to your attention and you're saying no, that undermines what they're saying. So, and another thing that he mentioned is you have to have empathy on what they're talking about.
Shout out to
And I
Anthony.
kind of spoke.
Anthony's in the room. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, hey, Anthony. It's fine. Hey, Anthony. So I took some time to really think about what he was saying because I was like, okay, I understand that when you say no or when you say that's not true, or and me and Rob actually talked about a person that made a statement like that in class at Diomi when someone said that an experience that they may have had in their life, and then there was a classmate who no longer went through the rest of EOA school, said that didn't happen or that's not true. Whenever you say that something isn't true and that's their truth and that's their story, that's undermining them. And a lot of people are guilty of that. And like I said, comment and give us your feedback on that. So another thing he said was when a person says that a statement is dumb, stupid, or wrong, like I said, that undermines them. And a response that he's stated here can be, let me see if there's some truth to it.
Okay.
So, because there could be some truth to what they say. And a lot of people don't pay attention to that. A lot of people will hear something and internalize it. And if it's not something that aligns with what they believe to be true, they'll try to undermine, or they'll try to be like, that's not. And that is impossible to do because there is a lot of truth to what people say. There's always a small bit of truth in what anyone says. So it's important to dissect that. And this is what Dr. Kelly said, is dissect it and figure out why and where it's coming from. That is the key in ensuring that you understand that. But at the end of the day, once you have identified that, it is very okay to disagree. You don't always have to agree on what they said, but just know that there is some validity to what a person says.
Shout out to Nathan. Nathan's in the room watching. He just welcome to VIBELYTICAL.
Okay, welcome. So what I wanted to do was get your feedback on. So there are 68 ways that Dr. Kelly, and I was like, I'm not reading all 68 to you all because that's going to take too long. But there were 6 that really stuck out to me, and I kind of want to delve into it. And Brandon, of course, I would want to hear what you think as well. So one, I'm going to read this statement. It's 6 statements. I'm not reading all 68. Okay. So one is, do not be the smartest person in the room. Hang out with and learn from people smarter than yourself. Even better, find smart people who will disagree with you. So I wanna hear from you all. I want to hear what you all have to say about that. What is your take on with this statement saying don't be the smartest person in the room? Because a lot of times I notice this with a lot of educated people. They tend to have this thing of like, I have a master's in this, or I have a doctorate in this, so I know this is what I'm talking about. And their pride gets in the way and they don't know how to listen to somebody else. There's somebody else that has an experience that you may not have experienced. So I feel like being open-minded in that, I think, is key to expanding your knowledge and being willing to listen. So like I said, let me know what y'all think of that. The second one is this one. Friends are better than money. I want y'all to think about that. Friends are better than money. Almost anything money can do, friends can do better. In so many ways, a friend with a boat is better than owning a boat. And that resonated with me because I am very big on I it
Yeah.
resonated with me because I'm thinking like, you know, a lot of people love having money. I love to have my
Hmm.
coins. Okay, I love
Right.
having my money, but I really value friendship,
Hmm.
and it's I want. People, you know, me and Brandon are new friends, but we have grown such a strong friendship over the last 2 months. And I can agree with friends being better than
Yeah.
money. They're better. Yeah, because if I own a boat, and I'm just going to use this boat example, I own a boat,
Hmm.
right? I have the coins, I have the money to buy this boat. But if I have no friends to share it with, and I'm just on the boat by
Right.
myself, okay. It's cute. I got an expensive boat that I paid for in
Mhm.
full and all that, but I have nobody to. So I definitely agree with this statement. And like I said, y'all let me know how y'all feel about that. Um, the third one I'll read is being able to listen well is a superpower. While listening to someone, keep asking, is there more until there's no more? And I like that because I know that in my friendships with, and Rob, if you're still on, let me know how you feel about this. I'm a very good listener. I'm a person that likes to just sit back and just hear what you got to
Hmm.
say. Um, we are in trying times right now. We are in times where a lot of the the craziness going on in the
Hmm.
world, a lot of the racism that we see going on in the world is being televised, is being
Hmm.
reported, and there's going to be times where people just want to talk. People just want to talk about their frustrations. They want to talk about,
Yeah.
and I think listening to somebody. There's so much power in just listening to
Hmm.
somebody. And at the end of the day, you don't always have to agree because Brandon, you and I have disagreed on a
Yeah.
couple of things. But I know one thing: though we disagree, we're hearing
Yeah.
each other. We're hearing each other's
Hmm.
perspective. And I'm telling you, hearing somebody out and letting them exhaust all of their
Hmm.
thoughts and letting it all out, there is so much healing in that. There's so much healing
Yeah.
in that. And I want to encourage you all to do that. And back to my first statement where I said, you finding smart people that disagree with you. Um, I I I I know that there's a lot of folks that stand firm on certain things, but their education on that could also bring light to something that you may not have been
Yeah.
exposed to. Um, like I said, you're not going to agree with everything. You're not going to agree with everything they say. I'm not saying that you just have to stop
Hmm.
and just be like, oh, but no, I'm telling you, there's power in just listening to someone, hearing what they have to
Hmm.
say, and and growing from what they're talking about. I'm telling you, there's
Yeah.
power in
Like,
that.
hold on. Let's go back to something.
Um,
So the title of this, he's a futurist, right? Because
he's a
sometimes I think
futurist.
what people do is they think about their life and their experience, and that supersedes everything else, right? Like if you hear something that doesn't match your experience, you're like, oh, you know what? That's not my experience. Like you said something that made a thought come to my mind. Maybe part of the reason why our country is in the way that it is right now, and the way that people are protesting, even the looters and the rioters, not condoning any violence. Like I'm not condoning any violence, but maybe the reason why this is happening is because nobody has been listening to what these protesters have to say. And when I say nobody, I mean the people that count. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I mean the legislators, the lawmakers, the FBI, the police departments. You know what I'm saying? Like they haven't listened in order to extend justice to these people who are in disagreement with the way that things are being ran. And so one of the points, him being a futurist, maybe he's trying to highlight like these are things you can do for your relationships in the future. It may not be something you're experiencing right now. But one way that I feel like our friendship has grown so fast is because we will exhaust everything out. And in the conversation yesterday, I was like, hey, Andre, you got it? Because I'll keep talking until I think that's what we have to do is spend that time until we're understood. Because right now in America, it seems as if, you know, communication, people listen to hear what they think you're saying from how they know you or how they perceive you. instead of what you're actually saying. And I think that's a huge problem when it comes to conversation and dialogue. So that's where the clarifying questions have to come in. You know, we learn all about that at DL. That's where you have to peel the onion
Yeah.
back and not interpret the person based on how you know them or what you think of them, but interpret them based on what they're saying in that moment. Because some people are going to go through grief at different times in life. And if you shut down, like, oh, I thought you was this way, you ain't supposed to be this and that, you know, like that can hamper your relationship. And Rob gave a couple comments. I don't know if you want to.
He did. He said, yeah, he said, life is nothing if you don't have anyone to share it with.
Mhm.
Great point, Andre. I mean, it's true. I value, I'll say it, I value friendships more than
Mhm.
money, because for me, money is a
Mhm.
bonus, in my opinion. Money is not my first thing that I'm like craving. I'm craving the friendship. I'm craving that quality friendship, that genuine, authentic friendship. That's what I'm
Yeah.
craving. And when I read that statement that friends are better than money, I was like, that is
Yeah.
so true. It really is. I want to be able to share my
Yeah.
successes. I want to be able to share, you know. And he said, listening to intake versus listening to respond.
Mhm.
Exactly. So that is
Mhm.
true. And like and is there more that you want to say? And until they're like, I'm
Yeah.
done. I mean, that's it. So I'm gonna move on to my next. I have
Okay.
two more. So another one that really hit me, and Brandon, I want to, I really want to know what you think of this one. I'm gonna stop talking and let you give me what you think. You are what you do, not what you say, not what you believe, not how you vote, but what you spend your time on.
Mm.
You are what you
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
Brandon. You are what you do.
That.
The
Yes.
action, the actions that take place, the things that you do on a day to day, that is what you spend your
Yeah.
time on. It's not what you
Mhm.
say, because you can talk a good
Mhm.
game. You can believe what you want to
Mhm.
believe. You can vote how you want to vote, but it's what you spend your time on. You are what you do. So, what do you think about that statement,
I think it's very
Brandon?
necessary. I'm so glad you picked this topic, and I'm glad that we're learning about Dr. Kevin Kelly and futurism and all this stuff. I think that is a much needed statement in this time because you know what I see happening is a lot of excuses for different things. Or oh no, I didn't mean that. I see people, you know, I didn't mean it that way. I didn't, but it's what you did though. You know, it's what you said. And what you say, like, I think all of those things are interconnected. I feel like, you know, I love and agree with what Dr. Kelly is saying there, but I also think that all of that is tied together. And I remember for the longest that I was trying to be a linear person where my actions, my beliefs, my faith, my everything just lines up. That's what I think a linear person is. Because what good, like, I found myself having wisdom and the answers for everyone else, but not the answers in my own life. You know, I had to learn how to make the word of Yahuwah Elohim work in my own life. And that was a struggle for me because I knew it well enough to give you advice if you called me, Andre, but I didn't always know it well enough. Like, how does this apply to me? How can I make this part of what I do, not just what I know, not just what I say, but what a part of what I do. And I think, you know, that's what we need to judge people by. And I think there's nothing wrong with judging people. It's when your judgment gets off in the condemnation. You know, when you condemn people, and there's nothing wrong with judging somebody and telling them they're wrong. It's about the way that you go about it and the way that you have a relationship with somebody, you know, in those situations. Because I create the space for people to comment on what I do. You know, I think that's the other beauty. That's why a friend is better than riches because a friend will help you keep your riches. One of the ways that Andre has motivated me, like you about to get your master's degree, you know what I'm saying? And like, and you,
Influence,
right? And you
influence is
motivated me
influence.
to continue my degree during this time. And I also had, you know, my husband Shay motivated me to do the same as well. And so, like, when you have a multitude of people telling you and pointing you in the right direction, it's like they're your cheerleaders in life, and you can accomplish more. Like my mom is my dad's best friend. 6 years before he got his PhD, my mom was walking around, calling him Dr. Priester, and now he is Dr. Priester, and has been for many years now. But it's just that friendship, that the thought, helping somebody um, achieve great success in what they already do is something amazing. So I think the statement of "you
It
are
is.
what you do" is very profound in a time where um, people would like to make excuses for the things people do and dismiss them instead of actually acknowledging this is what this person does and how can I always say it like this to summarize all of that. We cannot change as human beings until we look in the mirror and see ourselves. No man, no woman can, no human can change until they see what they're doing, looking in the mirror, seeing what they're doing. And then at that moment, I feel like, you can usher in, you know, heaven's will into your life, but not before that.
Nope. So it's gonna tie into my next one. I'm sorry, I had two more now. I had three. My
You
bad. I got another one and then
good.
another one. Uh,
This is good. I like it.
so I want to talk about how to apologize.
Mm,
This is what he's saying: how to
mm,
apologize quickly, specifically,
mm,
and sincerely.
mm,
Those three ways on how to apologize, I'm telling
mm,
you, are gonna be the most effective. And for me, I love that because didn't realize this, but I've been doing that my entire life. When I saw that, I was like, look at me being doing when I apologize.
yeah.
No, seriously, because I'm not perfect. When I apologize to someone, I'm not waiting on somebody else to tell me, oh, you should apologize. That was horrible. And Rob, you already know what I'm talking about with that, but I'm not going to talk about that on live. Um, but apologizing quickly, as soon as you realize that it was wrong, as soon as you have
Hmm.
that, quickly
Right.
apologize. And you need to be specific in the
Yeah.
apology. Specific. You need to definitely let them know exactly what it was that you did wrong, and you have recognition of
Hmm.
that, because that shows that you are empathetic
Right.
towards what happened to them, and sincerely, because no one cannot stand a backhanded apology. I'd rather you not apologize to
Right.
me at all than give me a halfway apology just to check a
Yes.
block, because it's not well received for me on
Hmm.
my end. I'll forgive you because I'm going to keep my
Right.
peace, but I will always know. You know how they say forgive but don't
Right.
forget? I mean, that's just kind of how
Yeah.
I am. But those three ways on apologizing will just take you so far,
Mm.
because that's how you garner that respect. That's how you garner that for people to look at you in a way that's like, you know what, he can admit that he was
Right.
wrong, and it was specific. That specific part really got me. You have to be specific. You can't just be, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry for
Yeah.
what? What are you apologizing for? Um, and the last one is optimize your generosity.
Mm.
Optimize your generosity. No one on their deathbed has ever regretted giving too much away. So I want you to think about that
Mm.
statement, because I know that I used to judge myself for giving, quote unquote, giving too much of myself to someone. I used to be like, oh my God, I put so much into that friendship,
Hmm.
or I put 1,000%.
Hmm.
Why am I questioning how much I
Right.
give? Or and then when I'm not going to go deep into the situation, but I've been wronged by
Hmm.
people. I have invested a lot of my energy into people that have betrayed me or that have cut me
Hmm.
off. And I used to beat myself up and say, well, dang, like, I don't even know why I gave so much. I don't know why I put so much energy into something just to get betrayed. But when I read that, I was like, that's nice, because I'm optimizing on the fact that
Mm.
I'm remaining authentically who I am, and I'm not sorry for
Yeah.
it. So I know that while I'm on my, I mean, when it comes to the time where I'm on my deathbed, I'm not gonna ever regret being too kind. I don't believe, and y'all can let me know. I mean, do you have any regrets for being giving too much of yourself? I mean, because there are some people that I've known that have said, "Oh my God, I regret being," and for me, it didn't sit well with me because I'm like, no, don't ever regret that. You were being true to who you were, and you were you were showering your kindness and generosity to that person. Don't ever apologize or feel like what you give to
Yeah.
somebody is too much. Like, don't ever feel that way. And that resonated with me because I'm like, no, that was who I was at that time, and I'm gonna continue to be that way. I'm not going to deviate from who I am. That's who I am authentically. If I give the best of myself to people, friends, family, whatever. I'm gonna give that. So that's what I'm gonna close on, is optimize your generosity, you all, because I know that and also with optimizing your generosity, especially during the times that we're in, because there's a lot of friction, there's a lot of tension, there's a lot going on, and I feel that optimizing on your generosity and optimizing on being kind to one another, I'm telling you, it will move mountains. It will move mountains. So, and in the middle of this, because it's too easy to be generous when there's not a whole lot going on in the world, when there's no blatant racism, but it's easy. But optimize on it during the time that we're in right now. I want to uplift you all, and that's the reason why I chose this topic, because
Hi, Shay. Shay's in the chat.
I see Shay's here. Hey,
Hey,
Shay.
shout out to Stephanie and also Matt. They joined the chat as well. And Jackson.
Okay, I see your people coming in. I don't see none of my people coming in. Where y'all at? Where my followers at? Where my people? But anyway, I I want to be a person on this platform that me and Brandon are having, to uplift you all in the best way that I can. And of course, Brandon is too. But I want to ensure that I provide that balance or we provide that balance of truth, coupled with truth, which is identifying what's going on in the world. I'm all about it. But I want to ensure that we are also uplifting you all in these times. I want us to ensure that we are uplifting and putting a smile on your face and having you sit back and kind of reflect on these things, because you don't have to reflect on these things right now. You don't have to, like, right now. No, but we're saving these lives and we're saving these shows for you to go back and see what we're talking about, because I want to just be there to uplift you all. So that's all I have for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and pass this on to Brandon to talk about my brother's keeper.
So, well, hold up though, because I on optimize your generosity.
Or if you want to
Yeah, I
add,
want to
yeah,
add
you want
something
to
to that.
add, yeah,
Like
you want to
I
add on.
remember growing up, I've always been generous. My parents raised me that way. You know, they would go grocery shopping and I would feed the whole block. That's who I've always been, and my parents like nurtured that within me. And um, one of the things I realized is if you're a generous person, everybody needs to do this. You have to nurture the essence of who you are as a person. So, you know, you could spit in my face one day and then ask me for $1 and I would give it to you. And I learned that was dangerous for me. And so I had to change that. And what I mean is I had like if I want to maintain my generosity, then I need to exercise restraint in that because especially like if you look at minority communities, if you help your entire family, like this little controversial kind of, if you help everybody in your family, what then? Like, how can you be the shepherd of your own household? If you constantly give and are pouring out, are you storing up your resentment within yourself? So when it says optimize generosity, I think that's very important for us to think on and to for the believers out there, you know, to pray about who you should give to and where you should invest your time. Not necessarily so you can get something back in return, but so that you can maintain your generosity. Because anybody who's generous knows that it's better to give than to receive. And if you're going to maintain that type of generosity, wouldn't you think that's better if you maintain and nurture that generosity that's within you, rather than just give out everything? Because what happens when the person who's really in need and then you don't have, because you didn't exercise restraint, because you didn't optimize your generosity? So I think, for me, I know that very personal, and I had to learn what it meant to optimize my generosity. And I had to learn, like, even in church, they're like giving tithes and offerings. And for me personally, if I'm not going to continue to sow, as they say, or give unto a place, first of all, I'm gonna call it offering. That could be another topic another time, but I'm gonna call it offering. I believe
Yeah.
that it's offering, not the tithe, but that's just me. But I'm not going to continue to give to a place where I don't see it actually going to help the community, because I think we are all
Hmm.
farmers, right? Everyone is a farmer. Like, the energy that we give off, what we do, we're planting seeds. What we give is planting seeds. So when we give of an offering, or we give to a place, like, would you plant in bad soil? Would you
No.
expect a harvest if you plant it in bad soil, soil that has not been tilled, soil that's not ready for planting? So if that is the case, then where we give, what we do, optimizing our generosity, if we're giving into bad ground, we cannot expect a harvest. And so I feel like I had to learn,
No.
what it meant to optimize my generosity. And I want Andre, thank you so much. That was an excellent topic. And you know what? You was hyping it up all week. We went on live, and you gave the people something excellent for us to be able to have a better life during
Yeah.
this time. And really, what I noticed is all of that was also surrounded around, um, you know, keeping your relationships good, your ones that exist today, and building new ones. So, shout out to Andre, moderator, co-host, for coming up with that topic. And now into my brother's keeper. And feel free to
Hey, Najeli. Oh, I
Oh,
see
what's up,
Najeli's on.
Najali?
Hey, Najeli.
Feel free to interject at any time during this, and also in the comments too. So, looking at the idea of my brother's keeper, I see. Look how the topic. So, Andre and I did not even talk about um, the depths of. We did not go in depth. So this is a live interactive show where we explore the topics, live. We did not talk about the only thing that he told me was he was going to talk about how to make our lives a little better. What I posted on the actual title of the live. So just notice how, like, we're on the same page, and spiritually speaking, my brother's keeper, like, where we see that show up first is in Genesis with Cain and Abel. When Genesis 4:9, it says, "Then the Lord said to Cain, 'Where is Abel your brother?' He said, 'I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper?'" Now, this is something real deep right here, because Cain, if you know the story, Cain killed Abel because what Cain offered unto the Lord was what he wanted to offer. So look at how this ties into, like, the apology piece, right? Like, people want to apologize for transgressing you sometimes in the way that they want to apologize, not in the apology that you deserve. So when it comes to being our brother's keeper, what makes it so bad is Cain knew at this time that he had already killed Abel. This was his moment of truth. He knew that he had killed Abel. And look, you can't get mad at your brother when your brother is successful in offering unto Yahuwah or doing great things in the community. Instead of looking at them as your enemy, look at them as somebody that you should join. Galatians 6:2, and I have like a list, and what I'll do is post this link. And it has over 100 verses about being my brother's keeper, and I ain't gonna read all 100, but I'm gonna just scroll, the ones that shout out, and Andre chime in anytime, and also in the comments. So let's move on to Galatians chapter 6, verse 2. It says, "Bear one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Yahusha." So when we talked about this, no human being can withstand the weight of their own burdens. So this ties back to what Rob was saying earlier, like, what good is it to, have all these great things in life and have nobody to share it with? This ties back to what you were saying, Andre, like, having friends is better than riches, because your friends, your brothers, can help you bear your burdens, and that fulfills the law of Yahushua. So, in other words, God is fully pleased with that when we bear one another's burdens. All right. Matthew 25:35. For I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. Let's look. There's one human race. That may not be our reality that has been shaped in the reality that we live in, but as much as we can make that the reality, our small piece of the pie, we should do. And that means being our brother's keeper. Yahushua said, and by this they will know that you are my disciples, by the way that you love one another. So during all of these things going on, there's a temptation to not love your neighbor as yourself. There's a temptation to condemn protesters and rioters and looters, but understand that those people need salvation as well. And maybe, we need to look at, so earlier in the week, remember we went live, like what can we do? Maybe we need some community dialogues to happen where people can air out their frustrations. And what about Andre? You know what? As you said it earlier this week, you said, I think there's already legislation. I agree with you. I disagree with you until right now. I agree with you because there already is legislation. How about look at the reason why people are protesting, rioting, and looting. We can say whatever we want. We can have our own opinions and our own beliefs about it. But when we look at it, this is happening as a result of law, like the law not being enforced when it comes to policing in America. It happened after that. We could try to connect it. Oh, people looting just because they want to. We could say whatever we want. People are rioting just because they want to. But the reason this occurred after there were multiple murders, right, in a small time frame where there was a lack of justice given to the people.
Mm-hmm. And Jim says, America, are you listening? Do you hear us now? A segment of our population can't breathe. And yeah, so what I want to also say before you continue, I'm going to put this plug in there because what you're talking about is great, is the protests going on. So there's two versions of protests that are going on. There's the protests that are rioting, looting, people are acting out, there's vandalism, there's fires being broken out, there's all kinds of things going on, and it's a lot. It's a lot to take in, and the media is only covered. And I'm talking about the media, not social media. I'm talking about the media, and what I mean by the media, like CNN, Fox, all those big televised networks. They're only talking about the rioting and the looting and the vandalism and that's all they're talking about. But then I'm like, on yesterday, I'm like, well, shoot. I'm all about balance. If you all don't know, I am all about balance. And I've talked to Brandon about this on Thursday or Friday, where I'm like, man, the media is covering all the craziness going on when it comes to the protests, but they're not covering what happened in Minneapolis, where all races joined together with their right arm up in a united front. They were in a united front. Now, I was happy to see all of them wearing masks. Personally, I was like, yes, y'all better wear y'all mask out there together. Because I was like, it was a lot of people, yes, but they had on their masks and their PPE. But I was like, I looked for that. And as I've told y'all before in prior episodes, I am looking for the good. I am not going to ignore. I'm not going to walk or avoid talking about the crazy protests and the rioting. I'm not trying to avoid that, because at the end of the day, it does need to be addressed. But I also want to look for that balance. I'm looking for that. I'm like, okay, Minneapolis, and this happened in Minneapolis. And then in Florida, the Miami police
took a knee.
They were protesting and they took a knee. And I'm like, and it was over George Floyd and the scourging racism that's existing today. So for me, I'm like, that is the kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff that warms
Right.
my heart, that makes me feel good. Because I had a conversation with Rob. Rob, I don't know if you're still on. I think it was me, Rob, and the Jelly. We were talking, and it was about how um, the police, you don't really expect police to be participating in something like that because they're, they work at a precinct
Mm.
and they have to abide by certain things. So when you see the police themselves acting on protesting, it's like that is
Right.
amazing. That's because you wouldn't expect, because us as Americans, we don't expect the police to be
Right.
protesting. We expect the police to be there to monitor
Mm-hmm.
things and kind of make things be a lot more calmer, because it's all right to protest. But to see the Miami police doing it,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's what I'm
Yeah,
talking about. The media isn't
you're
talking
right.
about that.
Mm-hmm.
Now there was celebrities talking
Yeah.
about it, which is great. You have your A-listers. You had Laverne Cox talking
Mm-hmm.
about it. You had,
I think
and if y'all don't know, she's a transgender, but you had people talking about it. But I was like, I didn't see
I
it
think it
much in
was
the
in
media.
CNBC. I posted it. I think it was CNBC. Some of them are um reporting it, and I think a lot of times it's not reported on the video, but it's reported in articles. You know, and maybe that's
And that's
yeah,
not
and
enough.
you're right. So
That's
you got
what
to go and you do have to go and look for these positive things. Jim.
I feel like I'm digging. I feel
Yep.
like I'm digging for the
Mm-hmm.
good. And I'm like, no, bro, if y'all are quick to report the riots and stuff and
Yeah.
all that, be quick to report the
Agreed.
good. Because I feel like as Americans, we need that
Yeah.
balance. We need that balance of
Yeah.
information. Because like I said, I don't want to run away from what's really happening. I
Mm-hmm.
want to know. But I want to know everything. I don't want to know
Right.
half of it. Give me all of
Yeah.
it. Give me all of it.
Come on, John
Because like I
Legend.
said, on Instagram is how I saw it.
Oh,
Okay,
me.
I mean, I'm just
Yeah.
all of me,
Yeah.
honey, because I want all of you. I want all of the
Right.
information, and for me to see it on social media, I mean, that's good that CSNBC
Yeah.
did. But I'm like, where's the video
Yeah.
coverage of it? There's video.
Mm-hmm.
We're quick to report
Yeah.
that controversial stuff. We're quick to report that as a media,
Yeah.
but I'm digging for the
Right.
good, and there should be a balance. So Jim Cassidy says the provocators are at work. We
Provocateurs.
see
Yeah.
you. Yeah, I said provocators.
Bro,
My
you
bad. I
can,
said
I
it
got
wrong.
you. I got your back, Bob. The provocateurs are at work. Yeah.
The
Yeah, and
provocateurs, yes.
I think, at this point, I don't even know if it's that negative media sells more so than an attempt to control the narrative, which ties into being my brother's keeper. Because, like, don't let somebody else determine the way that you look at your brother. And let me say this too. Another thing that ties into this is spirit is thicker than blood. Spirit is thicker than blood. I'm a person who has zero relationship with the men on my biological father's side of the house, even my own brother. But I have so many brothers, and it's not the reasons why I don't, or the reason why I don't have a relationship with them is not because of me or not because I haven't tried. It's just what is, and that is also related to Yahushua, the one they call Jesus Christ, where he left his family because his family became felt threatened that he was bringing too much attention to them. Like this is when his ministry was first started, and so he left his family, right? Because sometimes you got to leave your family to do what you need to do, to walk in the way that you should walk, to accomplish your purpose here on this earth. Sometimes you got to leave the ones who's closest to you and be able to stand. But guess what? Yahuwah is going to bring
Hmm.
you brothers and sisters. And that's exactly what he did. So Yahusha's family came to see him. And when they came to see him, he looked at the crowd and they're like, Jesus, you gonna go see your family? He was like, no. He looked at the crowd and was like, you are my family. You are my brothers and sisters, you who believe. So, being a brother's keeper is a lot, and there's so much that comes from it. Another thing that should happen is, confessing our sins to one another. So this goes back to the whole burden thing, bearing one another's burdens, right? Like you are not meant to go through this life alone or on your own. Call somebody, get the help that you need. You know, if this week has been heavy for you, pick up the phone, call somebody, reach out. There's support groups in places. Find a space where you can authentically be you and get the help that you need. Find somebody that you can be a brother's keeper with, and they can also be that with you. And I know I'm saying my brother's keeper, and that's not excluding women, you know. So maybe I don't know how my humans keeper it's not excluding women. It's just the term or the idea of helping somebody and creating that accountability to where you can grow together with them. I think it's go ahead.
And Jim says, as LGBT, we are more likely to find
See
our
it.
family. So, but I
Mm,
want to add this, Jim. I love that statement, but we have non-LGBT in the room
mm,
too. So I feel that, and that's kind of where I was going with the whole having a united front. So we can be in the LGBT community, me and you,
mhm.
Brandon, but I can still go and be interactive with
Yeah.
everybody. I want to feel like I'm family with
Mhm.
everybody, not
Right.
just LGBT.
Yes, I go out of my
So,
way to make to build relationships with people that I disagree with, and I've done that, believe it or not, over politics. And his name is Anthony, and Anthony is PCSing, and he became a great friend. And it was interesting because we went through the different stages of friendship, and it caused a chain reaction amongst the people that were around us and that saw our friendship. You know what I'm saying? And it came to the place where everybody knew that, like, that's my brother, and Anthony is white and we disagree politically. And then I learned, like, you know what, politics don't bring, he taught me so much, because really what he taught me is that politics don't bring anybody together. They don't. They don't. Politics do not bring people together because it pigeonholes people or compartmentalizes them to where you have to agree. If you're a Republican, you agree with all of this. You're a Republican. You got to stay true to your party. If you're a Democrat, you got to be tribal and you got to stay true to what this party says. That there's no in between. You know.
I want to ask a question on that to the viewers. Not really to you,
Okay.
Brandon, but you can
Okay.
answer it. Um, the, but I'm gonna make a statement before I ask the question. I have a friend. I'm gonna talk about her. I'm gonna say her last name, but her first name is Carrie, a white woman. I realized a few years ago that we don't agree. And now, like, mind you, I'm not political, but we are so different politically, but we avoid the topic. We just don't talk
Mhm,
about it. So my friendship with her is so
mhm,
amazing, even though we don't agree
mhm,
politically. So my question to you all is, do you all have friends that you disagree with politically, but your friendship is very, very
mhm,
solid? And maybe that's a topic that you just avoid, or do you avoid the topic because you disagree, or do you avoid the topic because you already know it, or do you feel that it would end a friendship?
mhm,
Because politics don't make
mhm,
people, and I've always felt
mhm,
that way. Who you are genuinely, I'm gonna love and cherish and like you as the
mhm,
person. What you stand by politically should not affect my
mhm,
friendship with you. So what do you all feel about the politics of that? The Just because you disagree politically, um, if you discuss politics, would your friendship be threatened if because you are on polar opposites? Because it kind of ties into what I said earlier. Even better, find smart people who disagree with you,
mhm,
or or talking to someone that has a different viewpoint.
mhm,
Jim says, I have some of the same issues. I just avoid the topic because I know we are not going to change each
mhm,
other. So change each other. So I want to talk about changing.
mhm,
Is it necessary to feel that someone's going to change what they believe, or just them being open to listening to you, even though they don't have to
mhm.
agree? And it kind of goes into what I discussed
Yeah.
earlier. You don't always have to agree
Yeah.
politically, but I should be able to respect their perspective and their view, their
Yeah.
political views, and they respect mine. And it should not affect my friendship with them. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It goes back to what I discussed earlier about talking to smart
Mhm,
people that that you disagree with, because if they're genuinely my friend, my friendship shouldn't impact what they politically view. It shouldn't. But that's my question to y'all. Do you just not discuss it at all because you already know it's going to go down this crazy rabbit hole? Or do you all find the courage to talk about it, knowing that the friendship won't be affected? What are your thoughts on that,
So
Brandon?
for me, I just make sure. I feel like a lot of people.
Or it depends on the person. Or it
Depends on
depends
the
on the person you're
person,
talking to.
and I think for me, it like oh yeah, okay. So me, I'm political. Like it's what I study. Like my husband was like, why don't you study political science? Because you're always talking about politics. Like you're always that's something that motivates me. And guess what? When I go to other countries to visit or we travel, like they always people ask me, you know, about politics and how do I feel about this and how do I feel about that. So I want to be educated and have an answer. I listen to things that I disagree with politically. I listen to the conservative voices. I watch the conservative news. I watch the independent news. I watch the mainstream news. And just so I can know what's being said, almost like, you know, when you're driving, you have to watch out for other drivers. You could be safe all day long, but you don't know what that other driver is doing. So you have to be physically and consciously aware. That's kind of how I feel about politics. You know, I know how I feel, and I know at the foundation of my political beliefs is my faith. That's said and done. I know that within my political beliefs, though it's not the reality that we live in, that there's one race. You know, there's one race where all human life comes from. And I believe the creation story that's in the scriptures, in the holy books. So for me, that's what I believe. Though that may not be the reality. So for me, I've not attempted to change anyone, but just to have a better understanding and be able to extend now that I'm a DOE graduate, you know, like I have a better ability to extend people the benefit of the doubt who disagree with me. I could do it before, but now like I had more patience. And it's like, um, I know it's a slang statement, but like keep the main thing the main thing. Like I know what my purpose is in life. And my purpose is to reconcile people, help people mend that relationship from the LGBT community to people who have never had faith, to the atheist, to the Muslim, to whoever. My purpose is to connect people with the one true and living God. So if that be the case, understanding how they feel politically may give me a little bit of insight into who they are as a person. Not everything. So for me, I enjoy talking about it,
So
but that's me though. You know what I'm saying? If you don't enjoy talking about it and it would make your friendship, you know, thrive and be better, then I would say, you know, if that works for you, then that's cool.
So do you think that, so I guess the bottom line to that is it's how you say it then,
Mm-hmm.
because how you articulate your belief, or how you articulate and how you approach
Yeah.
your political beliefs is how it can resonate. Because I feel that if I have a calm conversation with someone that's opposite of me politically, I can hear them versus them feeling like they're attacking me, making me
Mm-hmm.
feel dumb or stupid, which is what I said
Mm-hmm.
earlier in part of the thing when I said um, there are people that can make statements saying that you could be dumb, stupid, or
Mm-hmm.
wrong. That's what you want to
Yeah.
avoid. You don't want to call somebody dumb, stupid, or wrong because their political or anything that they value or believe is
Mm-hmm.
opposite yours, because that doesn't make sense. So it's very important to hear people out.
Mm-hmm.
I know in these times right now it's a little tough to really talk to someone that may be opposite of you
Mm-hmm.
politically, but I feel that it is possible. I
Yeah.
feel that it's possible with dignity and
Yeah.
respect. I feel that it's possible to talk about
Yeah.
differences. That's the reason why I said don't always be the smartest person in the room. You want to hang out and learn from people smarter
Right.
than you, but also smart people that disagree with you. So I feel that that is really important. And I know it's an
Yeah.
uncomfortable thing to talk to people that you disagree with, because you already know it's like, oh my God, they're not gonna hear what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying. But no, if they're your
Mm-hmm.
friend, and I'm going back to friends, I'm not talking about political folks that you don't know personally. I'm really more speaking about friends and
Mm-hmm.
family that you just don't, you're on opposite ends of the room
Yeah.
politically. Like, if you respect me as a
Right.
person, you should be able to
Yeah.
hear me out.
Agreed.
So
Agreed. And I think, you know, it's a perfect opportunity for everyone to grow, right? Like if we don't talk about the most passionate things, if we don't talk, if my hobby, I never discuss my hobby with you, and you're allegedly my best friend. Like, you're allegedly my best friend. Like, if I can't be fully known and be fully authentic around you, then I would question, this is me personally. It's not a knock at anybody. I'm not talking about you, Andre. I'm saying, like, if for me, if I can't fully authentically be me, then the weight of that relationship isn't heavy enough. Because, I'm a heavy and I'm a deep person, and I need to be able to, I know who to call, and I don't have the expectation that everyone's going to be treading out there in the deep ocean waters with me. But I have friends who do. And those relationships, I won't say they necessarily matter more, but they're more fulfilling. It's more fruitful because I can, you know, fully be who I am and know that that person is going to be my brother's keeper, you know? That being said, that ties to another scripture, and I'm not even going to read where it's at because I want people to go Google, but it says, so then let us pursue what makes for peace and mutual upbuilding. You know what I'm saying? Like, let us pursue. So if politics is not so, I'm like sort of not contradicting myself, but just bringing in another mindset. If it doesn't pursue what makes peace and mutual upbuilding, then maybe it's not a benefit for, you know, all relationships to talk about politics. If it's not going to like makes for peace and mutual upbuilding, sometimes the truth does, cause a little bit of contention for a moment, but then that person will call back and apologize, or that person will call back and say, you know what, I've experienced something, and now my mindset has changed. For example, like Barack Obama, when he passed gay marriage, like he said he evolved on the issue, when previously before he was not for gay marriage. So people can, mutual upbuilding. I think what that means is, like, yes, it still may be contentious, it may be sandpaper in the moment, but it still upbuilds and still forwards an understanding of love and compassion, which ties to my next one, which is repay no one evil for evil. So this to the rioters and the looters, repay no one for evil, but give thought to do what is honorable in the sight of all. If possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. Beloved, never avenge yourselves, but leave it to the wrath of God, for it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. To the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink, for by doing so you will heap burning coals on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. So that whole part about being kind to your enemy, you will heap burning coals on his head. That is one of the most powerful things I've ever experienced in my life. For people who didn't like me because I'm gay or because I'm brown or because just whatever, people just don't like you sometimes. And like you be nice to them and show that kindness, that is a powerful thing, you know?
Brandon, I have done it so many times where, I mean, not to, we're kind of diverting a little bit to the gay life, but for me, I have definitely killed people with kindness, with people calling me faggot, people calling me fag, uh, people saying that I'm a sissy and a prissy. Like, I just be looking at them and I smile and I keep it moving. Like, I don't let it faze me. I think they expect me to cry or retaliate. I'm like, listen, I'm not wasting I'm not giving you that energy, and I feel that, well, I know, some of those folks that have ridiculed me about my sexuality have come clean and said that, either I was attracted to you or I come out as gay
Mm-hmm.
now, because there was a underlying homophobia, and we all know, most of us know, that the root of homophobia is when, in my opinion, is when someone, they have the desire to be with the same
Mm-hmm.
sex, but they're not out
Mm-hmm.
about it. That's what I feel homophobia is, because I have heterosexual friends that love on me, hug me, all this stuff, and they have no care in the world about an image getting looked at
Mm-hmm.
weird or the wrong way. So, killing them with kindness is the
Yeah,
key. Bottom line up
yeah.
front.
And
And I hate to say killing with kindness, treating them with kindness. I don't know use the
yeah,
word killing, but treating them
yeah,
with kindness is
yeah.
in the midst of it.
That is, you're right. I'm glad you changed that word. You actually are giving them life, and you're giving them an opportunity to grow. And I think that's, that is optimizing your generosity as well, the way that you treat one another. You know what I'm saying? And I think I want to emphasize the fact that that Yahushua gave the commandment to love one another, like multiple times throughout the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Like he said, a new commandment I give to you, that you love one another, just as I have loved you. You are also to love one another.
I gotta say something. Can I add something to that? I want you all, because I'm doing it, love the folks you don't like.
Mm-hmm.
Love the folks that are being crazy. Love the folks that are disrespect. Love them.
Mm-hmm.
Love on them. You don't have to tell them you love them. You don't have to be extra and be fake with them or anything like that. But love them. Love them from
Mm-hmm.
afar. I have people that I've cut off out of my life, but I love them from
Mm-hmm.
afar. Will we talk again? Probably not. But I love them from
Mm-hmm.
afar. I have love. I wish them the best. I don't wish any ill will or death upon them. I don't wish those
Mm-hmm.
things. But I love them from afar, and I think that is the key. I I mean, I've cut folks off. I'm not even going to sit here in front. I've cut them off because they were not good
Mm-hmm.
for me. They were toxic to me, but I still love them
Mm-hmm.
though. I may not like you, but I
Mm-hmm.
love you.
Yeah, and we are.
I just
Yeah,
want to add
thank
that
you.
in.
And we are commanded to do that, especially if we are going to bear the name of Yahushua Hamashiach, the one they call Jesus Christ, the Messiah. Like, I mean, this is, it all ties in together. Being a brother's keeper, and then everything you've given so far has been about, how to strengthen those relationships. And this is a human need. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is a basic foundation. Like God said, if you know love, then you know God, and God is love. And if you don't know love, then you don't know God. And it's oil and water. If God and love go together like butter on biscuits,
Yes, butter on a biscuit. I had Cracker Barrel this
right?
morning.
So
Put butter on my
I think
biscuits. Yeah.
we're at the place where I think we've accomplished what we meant to accomplish, and maybe I'll just read one more verse, and I'm gonna say this one, Psalms 1, verses 1 through 6. It says, "Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers, but his delight is in the law of the Lord. And on his law he meditates day and night. He is like a tree planted by streams of water that yields its fruit in its season, and its leaves do not wither. In all that he does, he prospers. The wicked are not so, but are like chaff that the wind drives away. Therefore, the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous." Like, after all that has been said here and what's happening, we always got to talk about what's happening in the spirit realm. What is the prophetic word for now? That we're going to have to choose what side we're going to be on. Either we're going to do these things, we're going to be our brother's keeper, we're going to love as we are required to and commanded to by a Hebrew Messiah, you know what I'm saying? Or we're not going to do those things, because if, like I said in another live, if church can't get this racism thing right, nobody can. And if the church is not getting it right, we know that the church is the people, right? Like, so we have no opportunity, we have no choice not to get this right. If we say we believe in the scripture, then we have to get this right. That all human beings are created in the image of the Most High. And if that is true, then we ought to act like it, right? So, Andre, you gave all these ways for us to act like it. And then I tied in the reason why and the commandment that's coming from the Most High on why we need to do these things. So I think it just boils down to the situation of we have to choose which side we're going to be on. That's it. And if we are sinners if we choose the wrong side. We are sinners if we look at another human being and demean them, or don't think that they're worthy because of the color of their skin, or because they're gay, or because they're trans, or because they're whatever. Because guess what? If any of us get cracked over the skull, we all gonna bleed red. God forbid we get cracked over the skull. Let's just try to be funny, but like,
I know. I
right?
got.
But we all come from the same place, and we all go back to the dust. All of us. We came from the dust, we're going back to the dust. But what we decide here is going to affect where we spend eternity. And the longer we take to make the decision on which side we're going to choose, the harder it's going to be. Because like you said, Andre, earlier, you have to dig for the positive news. You know, you have to dig for the positive news because it feels like the media. I don't think the media is the devil. The media is doing their job. Um, but I just think that they are trying to shape a narrative. And if you let the narrative they're trying to shape influence everything in your being and you don't speak against that narrative or cast that imagination down, then it becomes a part of you. You know? Like one thing I've seen, and I'm wrapping up my comments, like one thing I've seen is the fact that people like to talk about Martin Luther King, but they forget that Martin Luther King was also assassinated. You know what I'm saying? Martin Luther King and all his peacefulness, like he was assassinated. So when we look at these things, and I said it on another live, like my dad, almost 60 years old, says that not much has changed in his lifetime, you know? So we really have to think, and I really am praying that the church gets this right. Because if the church will lead by example, the people, like where the pastors at, if they will lead by example, then you give people another option. You give people another choice. You know what I'm saying? You restore justice and you call for justice. Because look, wasn't Martin Luther King a preacher? Wasn't Malcolm X a preacher? Where were these civil rights leaders at? They was in the church. Even though to the end, you can go back and look, even though at the end, the church was not pleased with Martin Luther King at all, and they and America considered him an enemy. Um, so I mean, we just have a choice to make on what we're gonna do. You know what I'm saying? On how we're gonna look at humanity. Is humanity worthy?
How we're gonna
Yeah,
look at
is
it.
humanity worthy of our kindness and optimizing our generosity? Is humanity worthy of being our brother's keeper, or was Jesus lying?
Hmm Jim Cassidy says a friend said this is like 1968 all over again, and I said because nothing has
See?
changed, and it kind of ties into what I said on another live, I
Hmm.
believe, about how racism has always been around, but now people are being exposed a lot more because of technology and these smartphones and recording it, and it's just like, oh, okay, it's definitely always been there. It's just being
Yeah,
amplified now.
agreed. And so that doesn't that bring us back to the place of like what are we going to choose to do? What are we going to choose to do? And you know, because there is an opportunity to delegitimize what's going on. What I feel like the narrative of the media is maybe not trying to push intentionally, or maybe they are, but they're trying to push this narrative that George Floyd's memory is being tarnished because of looters and rioters. Like I disagree with that. Like he left his memory behind is his legacy. He left a group of brothers who banded together, who studied the Bible, who like he left a positive impact on a community in which he was never given a chance. You read like if you look into his story even a little bit, you find out like he couldn't catch a break in his life, but he still left something good and still left people who had positive things to look forward to and people who had faith.
Jim says, who is going to come to the people? We don't have a leader coming forward to calm the people. Well, and I think I'm gonna answer this, and Brandon, you can let me know
Mhm.
what you think. People like me and Brandon,
Yeah,
and I say that because if we're looking at the people at the top that aren't, or people in the politicians in these positions and all that, and they're not, um, people like me
yeah,
and Brandon, people like Brandon and I, correct English, people like Brandon and I, bringing attention to it, but that's the reason why, and this is a private conversation I had with Brandon about speaking the truth is powerful. There's so much power in truth. And with there being power in truth, it's not just talking about the controversial stuff. It's also reporting the stuff that
Yes.
uplifts us. And that's why I wanted to emphasize on what things are going on in the world that will uplift us, like the Miami police protesting. How that's not televised as hard as the rioting and
Yeah.
the looting. Why not? So I want to bring attention to everything equally. I mean, that's why we're EOAs. We're equal opportunity advisors. I want to bring equal attention to it, not just reporting. Because the thing is that us reporting or us talking about what y'all already know, it's heavily reported. It's heavily reported. But there's also good. There's also good things going on. You know what I mean? It's like, God, dog. So Rob says a lot has changed. 1968, water fountains, schools, restaurants, transportation, and so much more was not equal to all races. 2020, all races have a lot more equal opportunities. We have a long way to go, but we are progressing. And I let me tell you something. I totally agree with that. I do. We are not where we need to be. We are not there yet, but we are progressing. And I'll say this: the media and I think that's the reason why I'm like not too happy with the media, because they're only talking about the controversial stuff, but the progression is in what I said earlier: the Miami police officers protesting in crowds. That's progression. Why aren't we talking about that? Why aren't we talking about that a little bit more? Because that provides that balance. Because it goes back to what Rob just said.
Yeah.
In 1968, we was looking terrible. But 2020, we have a lot more going on. There's a lot more. So when I see Miami police officers now stepping up, I'm like, okay, that's progression. That is progression right there. When I see Minneapolis folks joining together of all races, being a united front, that is progression. Now, it's not taking away the stuff that's going on that's controversial. I'm not taking that away. I'm not. But I have to ensure, we have to ensure, Brandon and I have to ensure that we're reporting the good stuff too. Have to.
I think our society is different now. It's interesting because I've heard multiple news sources commend the organization of the protests in Hong Kong. People have commended the organization, and they don't have a leader, but they do have their 5, vision statements or 5 mission statements, and they said until these come about, we're not stopping. So, but they don't have a leader. I think if we look at history, I think we have moved on from necessarily needing a leader, and that I think that's a talking point. I think that's a fallacy that we need a leader to lead and guide. We don't need a leader. We need organizers, but I wouldn't necessarily call them leaders per se.
That's what I just said. I said people like Brandon and I could be maybe, because I don't need no leader.
So I think all of it.
I got this.
So in any way that we can be part of the healing. I think this whole life, has been about like how to be the healers of your community and how to lead in your community. And so there's not one formal leader who's necessarily speaking, because formal leaders get taken out. I'm just saying. And who carries the torch? Who carries the message after the formal leader is taken out? But if we all have unity and see, like, I think the way to beat politics is talk about what we agree on. Find that common ground first. You know what I'm saying? We all need shelter. We all need heat. We all need food. We all need water. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all want to breathe. Find common ground in that and move forward. Because, like, I would truly like to know, is there anybody who really doesn't want equality? When you start talking like that, is it like, I'm sure there are, but I'm just saying, like, who really doesn't want equality?
I gotta answer that. I gotta answer for you. Majority of the majority of the population of the United States, the majority of us, the vast majority of us want equality. But the ones that don't, those are the ones that is being publicized on the media a whole lot more. And it's amplified a lot more. It's like in your faces, every article. You just scroll on your news feed on Facebook and just see article after article. And it's like, okay, it's good. Yeah, we're bringing attention to those racist individuals. But there is so much progression going on that's not being reported. So the image, it makes the image look like, oh, well, we going backwards. And I'm not saying we're not going backwards, but we are progressing just as much as going backwards. There is some resistance. I'm not saying that there isn't with the folks that are I'm not saying that with the Americans that are I'm not saying that, but there is progression too. There is, and that's the reason why I try to capitalize on the good too, not ignoring the bad, but also emphasizing on the good, because the good stuff is not being talked about. There's stuff that's not even on the news at all that's happening that we don't even know about right now. There's stuff going
So
on.
for all of our viewers and the people who may watch this after, it's posted, please in the comments, like maybe we should start a collection of, good stories that we can post and then we can have it on all of our social medias. That's a good way that we can spread that news and be part of the change that we actually want to see. And after this, Andre, like, do you have the talking points that you had? Do you have it on like a Microsoft Word document or something? Or how did you get it?
No, I was old fashioned, Brandon, and I wrote it down with a paper and pen. So I didn't type it,
You don't have to type it.
but
Can you take a picture of it and send it to me? And what I'll do is when I post this on my website, I'll, have the link that I have with all the scriptures. I can post, the research you did on there, and then so people will be able to see it as well.
so I'm going to type it on my
Okay.
notepad. That's too easy. I'm not gonna take it. I'll square you away so you can just copy and paste. So I ain't gonna do you like that. But I'll but I'll definitely write the 6 things that I wrote down for ways to be better at life, and a little bit of some of the notes that he provided during his interview that I saw last week. So I'll definitely do that.
Hey Gabe. So Gabe is on. He just joined the chat, and I actually bought my Genesis from him. So I think he's still at Vancouver Genesis. So if you're looking for a car, you can get one at Vancouver Genesis.
Gabe is you're talking about like a
No,
government
my
vehicle?
car, my
If I
personal
need a
car.
government vehicle? Or talking about a
My
car?
car, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay then.
Yeah.
Jim Cassidy says, I agree with you, Rob. My point was that we are still not 100% equal across the
Yeah.
board. No. Yeah, we're not.
Yeah. And I think I think leaving room like I think leaving room for both perspectives is great. And the agreement and the foundation of that, so I can model it, is that basically we both agree that in those comments, both agree that there's still work that needs to be done. Bam. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And however you look at it, to me, I think neither one of those outlook is positive or negative. It just is what is, you know.
It is. It is what it is. And I mean, I'm gonna sound like a broken record. So I'm gonna let y'all know I'm gonna sound like a broken record every time we go on live on uplifting you all and ensuring that I am searching and digging for the good stuff that's going on, because as Rob said, we are progressing. But I'm not going to avoid bringing light to the injustices that's going on with the American people. I'm not. I'm not going to avoid that, but only focusing on that
Yeah,
truth and not the whole
yeah,
truth is what I'm
yeah,
not about. I'm not about it.
yeah. I agree
Period.
with that. And I think, we should use our voices and use our social media and use whatever means we have to forward those positive things. Like there's more women in Congress, more minority women in Congress than ever before. And we need to, get behind them and figure out how we can support them and, you know, like facilitate the changes that we want to see, because I'm sure when you're in the hot seat, Like we in the hot seat. Like there's certain things that you can't say. There's certain ways you have to conduct yourself. Whether you say this, whether you say yay, or whether you say nay, people are going to be critical of what you're saying and interpreting it in their own way. You got people receiving death threats and that kind of thing. So I think, just figuring out how we can support those leaders. And also, for the believers who attend any kind of church, like you need to go see your pastor. Like, what is your church doing during this pandemic? What is your church doing for racial reconciliation? Does your church have support groups where people can come and talk? Or, people can visit each other's homes? Like, even in spite of the pandemic, like, obviously being careful, but what is being done by the church? So if it's not doing that, then that's the way you can use your voice to go to your pastor and be like, sir, ma'am, what are we doing and what can we do in this time? Because I think it's really important. So
It is. It is. So, is that all you have? So we can
yeah,
close out, or
I
are
think
you
I've laid it
gonna?
all out on the table what I have today. Be your brother, yeah, be
Okay.
your brother's keeper.
So, we want to thank you all for taking the time to watch our live, and for those that come on later, thank you for tuning in as well. Because I don't think I do that when we leave. So the ones that are here now, thank you for tuning in, and for the ones that are going to be coming on after we go on live, thank you for
Thank you.
tuning in. So we covered my topic with Dr. Kelly on ways to be better at life. And then Brandon emphasized his topic on being a brother's keeper. And I want to figure out another word for brother's keeper for
Yeah.
next week. I want to say something
Okay.
different
Yeah.
on that. But thank you all for tuning in. I want to read Rob's comment before I close out. As she said, we will never be 100% equal as long as we are identified as any other race than human. The evils of the world will stay until we return to the dust. I love it. So that was a good conclusion. Hey, Rob, you just helped us with our conclusion. Thank you very much.
Minister Rob with the
But
benediction.
yeah,
Come through.
okay. But thank you so much for tuning in. We will, like I said on other lives, we are gonna probably try to go on live during the weekday. So it won't always be Sunday. And then also back to what Jim requested, that we may go on live on a heavy day, on any heavy news that we get, on anything. We will go on live because I know my goal and Brandon's goal is to uplift you all as well. And that's my platform, and I know that's Brandon's platform. So, but thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it so much. Rob says progress over perfection. And that's true. Progress over perfection. I love it. That is a true statement. Do you have any closing remarks before we go, Brandon? Benediction?
Just that we continue to do what we know to be right in the face of adversity, meet those challenges head on, challenge ourselves to grow, challenge ourselves to be better listeners, and go out of our way to protect one another. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's what's needed during this time. Protection of one another in the face of adversity and fear. Um, that's what will, I think, heal parts of our land, and understanding to reject the human idea that everything needs to be vast and grand. But no, your small decision, your small commitment, you optimizing your generosity just as one person, can be the match that lights a fire of kindness, that will continue to burn and bounce from person to person to person, and encourage them to actually change the faces of your community from frowns to smiles, from anger to joy and happiness.
All right, y'all. Well, that concludes VIBELYTICAL. That is the title of our show. You did put it in the live thing, so they'll see the title. So when we come on, I'll be saying, "Welcome to the VIBELYTICAL show." We're gonna have a phrase we use, a little. We're gonna add that. We haven't had that. We haven't decided on one yet, but we're gonna put one in there. But thank you for tuning in, you all. We love you all. Thank you for your feedback. Y'all have been a little bit quiet today, but it's cool. there's going to be some quiet days. There's going to be some, but yeah, we do appreciate all the comments. And until
Until
next
next time.
time, we will see you on
See you.
VIBELYTICAL.
Be blessed.
All right, talk to y'all later. All
Bye. See
right,
you.
Brandon.